Allenzy is a singer, songwriter, rapper, people's champ. He's the underdog. You know, I embody like the American dream in a sense of if you really believe in something and you work hard enough for it, you're gonna achieve it. I am the Fresh Prince of Atlanta. When I was younger, I didn't really like to socialize much because I was kind of like in my own world. So I had friends come over and stuff like that, but I didn't really like enjoy it as much as I enjoyed like writing. Like I used to write like short stories, like poems, and then it evolved into like rap lyrics and song lyrics. And I think like with me moving around so much, I never had like a stable group of friends. So I was always really shy because it was like, soon as I got comfortable with this group of people, I had to move, you know, to either a whole different country or a whole different state, and then it's like I got to start all over, and then pretty much be the new kid again. So I kind of like, you know, was reserved and really shy as a kid, which kind of made me tap into my artistic side even more. I think the most messed up part about my childhood was how badly I was bullied. The extent of it, you know, when I was in middle school, like. What started the bullying was, as far as in Seattle, was well, obviously I'm Asian, and like kids found out like I rapped, and then all the white kids was just like, oh my God, like he can't do it, he's Asian, I'm just gonna make fun of him because I hate the fact that he has a dream, blah, blah, blah. So like these group of white kids were just like always like, you know, like make fun of me, and like it got so bad, like it wasn't just in school, like they would go on like the internet. Back then there was like no social media, so like if you go on the internet, it stays there forever. There's no like commenting back and forth, it just stays there. So they went on the internet and they wrote like definitions about me, but it was like really mean definitions. It was like really bad. So it was like before trolling and like, you know, like hate comments, it was like, that's what I experienced. And then so when they would do that, everyone in school would know me as what they wrote about me on the internet. It was like the worst things you can say about a person. And then I was there, a 12-year-old kid or 13-year-old kid having to face that, you know what I mean? So I think that stood out to me the most. And it was almost like I had to be somebody, because it was like, if I'm gonna be notorious and like, you know, have all these terrible things about me, I might as well be famous, because by the time I'm famous, it's gonna be the same thing, except I'm gonna have the love to go with the hate, you know? So that was the worst thing that I experienced. Evan, Prescott, and Taj. Evan's like the past, and Taj is like the future, present. I think those are like the two most memorable friendships I have. Evan Prescott, he was my childhood best friend, and he was the first person that I started rapping with. He was like one of the only black kids in my school, and then we just kind of clicked because I was like, hey, do you like rap? And he was like, yeah, do you like rap? And then it was like a very innocent friendship. At some point, I'm just like, yo, man, we should just rap. And he's like, but what are we gonna talk about? And then so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna write something for you, and then so we would just go back and forth, and then finally it got to a point where it just became obsessive. It was like I would write a verse, he would write a verse, and we'd try to outdo each other. And so I definitely have him to thank, and it's funny because if you ask him the same question, he'll have me to thank. He'll tell you like I was the reason that like he stopped, you know, getting involved in the street life, because his mom would remind him like, you know, like you and Alan started something beautiful, which was to get you away from like a lot of the stuff you were doing, because rap was what saved him the same way it saved me. And Taj, like pretty much like we kind of stumbled into each other because I had a mental breakdown around 2011, and so I hit rock bottom. And a lot of terrible things happened in my life. All my friends left me, and Taj's mom passed away around the same year, like 2012. So we were already friends. Like we've been friends since like 2009, 2010, but we're kind of like just like casual, just like, you know, homies and whatever. But I think our depression and our like hard times like kind of pushed us together. It was like he pretty much molded me into who you see now. It's like I was a mess. I was just very insecure and unsure of myself, and he was already going through a lot, but he had like this, you know, this desire to like pretty much make me who I am today. He was like, I see so much, you know, greatness in you. So he had the patience to pretty much be like my therapist, my big brother, my mentor, and so that's why I have him to thank for pretty much, you know, like everything. So long story short, you know, I definitely have very valuable friendships that you know, made me who I am. My parents didn't want me associated with that, especially like because like we moved from like a lower class neighborhood in Maryland to like a middle class neighborhood in Seattle. So she's like, you don't have to go back to where we were to, you know, it's like it didn't make any sense to them, because, especially because hip hop was so like different at that time, especially mainstream hip hop. If you remember, this was pre-Kanye hip hop, so it was like everything was like very hood and very gangster-esque. So it was like the only image you saw was like 50, Dipset, and it was like all these hyper-masculine dudes, like, you know, coming from the streets. On top of it, I told him I didn't want to go to college. I was like, you know, all my favorite rappers dropped out. I want to drop out. And then my mom's like, you're smart. Why would you do something like that, you know? And so I don't know. I just pretty much lied to them that I wouldn't do it no more, and I would just like go to the basement and just like rap to myself and just like practice and just like write verses and like school textbooks and like SAT prep books, because I'm Asian, so it's like I've had like my parents wanted me to like have a good education or whatever. So like that's what all I would do. Like people in school would just be like, Alan would be so smart if you just stop rapping, because it was like they were like, Alan could be a genius, but he just chooses to rap. I loved hip hop so much that was the only thing I ever thought about. I started to sing because I wanted to put my parents at ease. I wanted them to know, it's like, hey, I can make pop music too. But in the side, I'm just gonna be like, oh, I'll be the greatest rapper ever. You know, it's like nobody's gonna. So like, with me going to college, it was like, okay, like at the end of the day, no matter what happens, I'm gonna have a really good like fallback. And that's all I thought of college. And the reason I was so adamant about Emory was because I knew I couldn't stay in Seattle. Like if I was gonna stay in Seattle, I might as well kill myself. That's how I thought, because there was nothing in Seattle for me. So I was like, Emory's in Atlanta, Atlanta's popping, like I'm gonna find inspiration, and I did. That was the first time I ever found support, which was in the local Atlanta scene, like in my college and around like other colleges. So I was like, wow, it's like realistic. It's like having support, having people like you for you and for your music. I didn't know that was even possible because I was so alienated in Seattle. So college was like the best thing at that time for me, you know, only because of where I was at, because I left halfway across the country to, you know, find myself. Atlanta is so competitive and it's so oversaturated that you have to do like 10 times more of the work to even get noticed by your own city. So I don't think we Atlanta artists have like the luxury of smaller city artists where they can just go on like, you know, like they can just open up for a big artist because they're friends with a certain plug or whatever, because there's so few artists. We have like, there's like, for every, you know, 10 of us, there's like 10,000 more competitors. So it's like, the game is so different in Atlanta. And I feel like if you really want to make a mark in this city, you have to pretty much like, you know, like outshine everybody else and outwork everybody, you know what I mean? And out-finesse everyone. So that's what makes the grind in Atlanta so different, because it's so cutthroat, it's so dog-eat-dog, you know? I think first and foremost, I'm a student of the game. So any artist I studied, like, I pretty much took their best qualities and I just meshed it with my own, you know? It's like, obviously you guys know my favorite rapper is Eminem, so I know his entire discography, like from Infinite to Marshall Mathers LP2, you know? So like, and then it's like, I studied hip hop to a point where it was very OCD. It's like, I was like literally listening to anything that people consider like a classic like album, you know? So I went back and I listened to like Rakim, Cool G Rap, Big Pun, Big Daddy Kane, anything that was deemed like worthy or, you know, like historical, I would just pick up on what, you know, was so like timeless about it. And then I would listen to like new artists and see what was like so marketable about it. And then when I started moving into like the pop and R&B realm, I did the same thing that I did with hip hop, which was study. And I know it sounds mad Asian, but it was like I just pretty much learned everything I could. I soaked up the game, and then I just, you know, put me into it. You know, it's like put my own flavor into everything. I think with Eminem, like there's so many things I learned from him. One was like rhyme, like scheming, which is like, you know, multisyllabic rhyme schemes. Like that's one of my favorite things to do when it comes to writing and like verses, because it's just patterns within words, like figuring out figuring out the perfect rhymes, like figuring out structure and how, you know, everything fits together sonically. And I think another thing I learned is switching up flows and cadences. Like I really believe that going with the beat, like going with the instrument as it like transitions is important as an artist. It's like knowing key chords and like when it's time for you to switch up, like whether a melody or a verse or whatever. So I listen to like the greats and see what they did for like, you know, certain change-ups and how to pretty much make a song like a song, you know what I mean? It's not just like writing a 16 and calling it a day. There's really an art to it, you know? It's like, okay, I could literally do everything right, but because of this, people are telling me I can never be anything. And so that really made me resent myself. But I think at some point when I started developing my own fan base and people started hearing my story and I started breaking grounds I wasn't supposed to break, it made me realize I could be a game changer, you know? Like, I do feel like that, and I feel like that's why I resonate with Marshall Mathers so much, Eminem, because he faced the same thing. Every label turned him down. It was like, he's good, but he's white. And so because he broke that, there's rappers like G-Eazy and whoever that can make it easily, because it's like, okay, we have a successful white rapper. There's a blueprint. There's no blueprint for me. Labels don't know what to do with me. So I gotta be the one to show them, I'm gonna make $1 million. You guys need me. I don't need you. So that was the main thing I had to do, was find my confidence in myself, even when the world is telling me no. I just want to tell them to, you know, follow their dreams and follow their heart. And I'm not trying to be corny, I really mean it. You know, it's like, if their parents or whoever is telling them they can't do it, I want to tell them they can if they want to pursue this, you know. And there's no shame if they want to be something other than like, you know, an entertainer or whatever. Whatever your dream is, I feel like you should pursue it. And there really is no ceiling, even though technically there is. But if they believe in it, I really want them to go full throttle, you know. So if they're watching me, I want them to know that I believe in them and that they should believe in themselves too.
Ecstasy come to us, and if you don't tell us all, nobody has to know. Nobody has to know. Ain't no other man can do like you do, yeah. Ain't nobody gotta know about us when we in the cut. I'ma make you know that. No touch and go long as you bring that back. Hitting notes like that.